My parents planned to move my brother's family into my duplex for free, until I quietly drew one line. That shattered their perfect image completely. There are three things my mom believes in more than God: potluck Pinterest quotes and my older brother Ethan. She calls him my first blessing, which you know would be sweet if it weren't usually followed by calling me our little surprise, and not the good kind of surprise like a birthday trip, the kind you get when you find out your tire's flat and you're already late to work. Growing up, I was the spare key, the backup plan, the maybe someday child. Ethan, on the other hand, was the plan, the investment, the heir to the family legacy, even though said legacy was a 2-bedroom ranch and a smoker grill Dad never cleaned. By the time Ethan was 25, he had a wife, 2 kids, and a graduation photo framed in every room of our parents' house, including the guest bathroom. Me, I was 27, single, and fixing AC units in other people's houses while eating gas station burritos in mine. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't bitter, okay? Maybe I was a little bitter, but mostly I just accepted my role in the family narrative, hard-working, low-maintenance, occasionally mentioned in group texts when someone needed a spare set of hands or a pickup truck. That's why when I started saving up for a property, I didn't tell anyone. Not even my childhood best friend Marcus, who I once trusted with the location of my emergency pizza fund, which he betrayed for 3 slices of pepperoni and a can of Sprite. The truth was, I didn't want opinions. I didn't want advice. I didn't want to hear my mom ask, "Are you sure you can afford that?" Or my dad mutter, "You know, Ethan's always been better with money." So I stayed quiet for 2 years. I worked overtime shifts, took side gigs on weekends, and lived like a raccoon in human form. I drove an old Chevy with no AC and a trunk full of tools. I ate enough peanut butter sandwiches to build a loyalty program. I ignored every urge to upgrade my life and instead funneled every extra cent into a savings account labeled, appropriately, "Not for Ethan." And then one Tuesday morning, while repairing a busted dryer for a sweet old couple who offered me lemon cake and unsolicited life advice, I got the call. The duplex, it was old. Sure needed a new fence, some drywall patching, and the front porch had what I would describe as violent creaking energy, but it was solid. Good bones 2 units upstairs and downstairs each, with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and just enough charm to attract a renter who wouldn't ask too many questions about the ghosts of water damage past. I signed the papers that Friday, bought it under my name. No co-signers, no family favors, no big announcement. It felt weird at first, not bad. Weird, just quiet, like I was waiting for someone to show up and tell me it didn't count unless it had Ethan's blessing. Instead, I got silence, and it was the best sound I'd heard in years. I didn't throw a party, didn't pop champagne. I just stood in the empty living room of Unit A and whispered, "You did it, man," to myself, like I was narrating a sports documentary about middle-class plumbing success. Then I got to work, cleaned it, painted, it repaired. Every creaky hinge tightened, every pipe. One of the neighbors, an older guy named Lou, who smelled like coffee and wisdom, stopped by and said, "You the new landlord?" And when I said yes, he smiled and added, "Nice. Better you than the last one." She ran a cat rescue and a pottery class out of this place. I figured I'd rent out the top unit, live in the bottom one. Build a little equity, be the kind of landlord I wish I'd had in my early 20s, responsive, chill, and not addicted to passive-aggressive Post-it notes. And for a few weeks, that's exactly what I did. Until, of course, I got invited to family dinner, a rare occurrence. Usually I was the +1 to Ethan's plus everything, so naturally I knew something was up, and I was right. It wasn't a dinner. It was a setup. And the minute they pulled out the pie and started asking casual questions about what I'd been up to lately, I had a sinking feeling that the duplex, my duplex, was about to become the center of a family plan I didn't agree to. And brother, I was not wrong. Family dinner at my parents' house had a specific rhythm. First came the forced hugs, mom's too tight, dad's too limp, and Ethan's wife Jenna doing that awkward cheek air thing like we were European or something. Then the appetizers nobody liked but pretended to love, deviled eggs that smelled like revenge and shrimp cocktails that had clearly been defrosted 30 minutes before I walked in. And then questions, always the questions. "So still doing the tool thing?" Mom asked, loading her plate with Caesar salad like it was a personality trait. "The HVAC work?" "Yeah," I said, stabbing a crouton. "And plumbing, electrical, small repairs. I'm booked solid, actually." "Wow," Jenna chimed in, fake impressed. "It's so cute you work with your hands." I smiled through my molars. Ethan, meanwhile, was bragging about how his toddler had just mastered shapes and how their dog knew the difference between classical and country music. Cool. My microwave could tell time. Eventually, my mom turned to me with the kind of expression she usually reserved for casually manipulating people. "So any big plans, new developments in your life?" she asked, like she wasn't fishing with a net the size of Alaska. I gave the world's most casual shrug. "Not much. Work's been good." I saw the flicker of disappointment in her eyes, like I'd failed to give her a reason to redirect the spotlight. Dad cleared his throat. "Actually, your brother and Jenna are dealing with a bit of a situation," he said in the same tone someone might use to announce a natural disaster. "Oh," I said, biting a piece of garlic bread like it owed me money. "Yeah," Ethan said. "We're kind of in between places right now. The lease ended and the new place isn't ready yet." "We were thinking," Mom cut in, "that maybe they could stay with you for a little while." I paused mid-chew. "Stay with me?" "Just for a few weeks," Jenna added quickly. "You've got space, right? That duplex or whatever." There it was. I hadn't told them not one word. I never posted about it, never mentioned it in passing. The only way they could know, "Marcus told us, Mom," said, answering the thought I hadn't spoken. "He said you bought a place with 2 units. I made a mental note to throttle Marcus with a rolled-up lease agreement. "So you just figured Ethan's family could move in?" I asked slowly. Mom gave me that soft guilt-laced smile, the one she used when she wanted to pretend something was mutually beneficial, when it was actually just a favor to the golden child. "Just until their new place is ready," she said. "Besides, you've always been independent. It's not like you need both units." Ah, there it was. The free rent agenda, like my success was a communal potluck, and Ethan showed up with an empty Tupperware and a fork. "I already have tenants lined up," I lied, because I'm petty but strategic. Jenna blinked. "Oh, that's sudden." "You didn't even tell us you were buying," Mom said, now playing the hurt card. "Why keep secrets?" "I figured it wouldn't matter," I said casually. "Ethan usually gets the announcements." The table went quiet for a full 10 seconds. Then Ethan chuckled awkwardly, like the joke had gone over his head and clipped a few wires on the way down. "So there's really no room?" he asked. I shook my head. "Nope. Both units are rented, just signed leases last week," which was true now, because the next morning I posted both listings and got 2 tenants. By Friday, no family, no discounts, full market rate. The funny part, they didn't even ask for the address. They just assumed they'd move in like squatters with baby strollers. But the best part, 2 weeks later, I found out from a mutual friend that my parents had started driving past my place on Sundays, just to check. And on one of those Sundays, well, let's just say things got visually educational. The thing about my parents is they don't confront. They suggest, they hint, they snoop. So after I politely, and by politely I mean barely containing my sarcasm, shut down the whole "let Ethan's family crash at your place rent-free" plan. They didn't blow up my phone or call me ungrateful. No, that would have been too direct. Instead, they activated their favorite tactic, surveillance, with snacks. The first text came from my neighbor, Lou. White SUV circled again, 3rd time this week. They slow-rolled past the mailbox like it was hiding secrets. At first, I thought maybe it was just a coincidence. Then I remembered my parents don't do coincidence. They do passive-aggressive reconnaissance with a side of judgment. The next day, Lou upped his game. "Lou, your mom waved at me, then parked across the street, just sitting there like she was on a stakeout. Your dad looked bored or constipated, couldn't tell." I peeked out from the window, and yep, there it was, Mom's SUV parked like a suburban submarine. No movement, just 2 retired parents trying to solve a mystery. Why weren't they in control of this one? See, what they didn't know was this: both units were filled. The upstairs was rented to a pediatric nurse named Angela. She baked on weekends and owned 6 slow cookers. She once gave me banana bread just because my toolbox looked heavy. Downstairs was Dennis, a divorced high school math teacher who stress-baked and had opinions about grout. He paid early and offered me a slice of peach cobbler every other Thursday. I called him rent-paying Gordon Ramsay behind his back. They weren't just tenants. They were the dream quiet, responsible, didn't ask for discounts or mention Ethan, already better family than my actual one. And every Sunday, like clockwork, Mom and Dad would roll by in slow motion. Mom craning her neck like she was spotting wildlife. Dad squinting at the doorbell like he could hear rent checks being written. Then it happened. I was outside doing some routine maintenance, patching a fence board, earbuds in, and hoodie up when Angela came out with her rent check. "Thanks for the quick fix," she said cheerfully, handing me the envelope. "You're the best landlord I've had." Before I could respond, a white SUV slowed to a crawl behind her. I turned. It was them. My parents sitting there in the car, mouths slightly open like they just watched a magician pull a duplex out of a hat. Mom was in the passenger seat holding a giant lemonade. Dad was driving, frowning like a man who just realized his golden investment strategy involved a son who no longer needed them. Angela waved politely, not knowing the drama she just walked into. Then I waved, just a little two-finger lift wrench still in hand, sweat on my brow like a working-class ghost haunting their expectations. Mom's expression changed from curious to shock to mildly offended in under 5 seconds. Dad said something to her and she mouthed the words, "I'll never forget. That's him." As if I were Bigfoot or a rare bird. They didn't get out of the car. They didn't say a word. They just drove away slowly like they were still hoping someone else would walk out and confirm it was all a misunderstanding. That night I got the text family group chat. "Nice place, honey. Looks like a lot of work, though." Ah yes, the passive-aggressive emoji, her preferred method of emotional warfare. I didn't respond, but I did reread it 3 times. Not because I was hurt, but because that text said everything. They'd seen me not just owning a place, but running it, managing it, profiting from it. And they weren't proud, they were confused, because in their minds, success was, Ethan always had been. And I was supposed to just orbit around him, fix things, show up at birthday parties with tools in the back of my truck, nod along. But here I was with keys, rent checks, and neighbors who actually respected me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt solid. The group chat went silent for about a day after Mom's passive-aggressive, nice place, winking face message. I thought maybe they were done. Maybe the little drive-by revelation had shaken something loose, some kind of long-overdue humility. But nope. By Tuesday morning, the chat lit up again like a Christmas tree. Except instead of gifts, it was full of thinly veiled guilt trips wrapped in family values and delivered with emoji bows. Ethan. "Hey man, didn't know you had extra space. Kinda wild you didn't mention it." I stared at the message for a solid minute. "Didn't know you had extra space." Like I accidentally found a duplex in my couch cushions. "We just thought maybe you'd want to support your brother while his family transitions. You've always been so generous." Funny, I distinctly remembered loaning Ethan $300 back in 2019 and never hearing a word about it again. But sure, let's pretend I'm the generous family ATM who's just forgotten to dispense lately. I typed LOL, deleted it, then stared at the screen. Then Ethan followed up with the cherry on the sundae. "It's just kind of disappointing, man. We're family." Ah, there it was, the all-caps family card, the trump card of guilt, the emotional blackmail of middle children everywhere. I didn't reply. Instead, I went and swept the front steps of my duplex. Angela waved at me on her way to work. Dennis shouted from his window that he'd left lemon bars by my door. It smelled like independence and citrus. Still, the messages kept coming. "Mom, I just feel like this isn't who you are. You've always looked out for others." Ethan, "It's not even about rent. We just needed somewhere stable for a few months. Thought you'd understand." "Mom, your brother has 2 kids and a dog. It's not like they can just stay anywhere." But back in my day, families took care of each other, no questions asked. Back in his day, they also thought seatbelts were optional and asbestos was insulation. But sure, Dad, let's bring that wisdom into 2025. I muted the chat, but internally I was boiling. Not because they asked, because they assumed. They assumed I'd just hand over the keys, that my work, the hours, the sacrifices, the skipped vacations, the years of getting called the other one. All of that was just available, just waiting for Ethan to move in like a royal, visiting one of his estates. No one asked how I managed to buy a duplex. No one said, "Congrats." No one asked what it meant to me. They didn't see me as a grown man building something on his own. They saw me as a safety net with plumbing skills. So I did what any mature adult would do. In my position, I posted a photo to Facebook, just a little something. A picture of me on the porch, tool belt around my waist, coffee in hand, and a simple caption, "1 year ago today, I signed the papers. 2 units, 0 help. Grateful." It wasn't petty, okay. Maybe 12% petty. But within 10 minutes, Jenna liked the post, probably by accident. 5 minutes later, she unliked it, classic Jenna. And then came the message I was waiting for, not in the family group chat, but directly from Ethan. Wow, real mature. I sipped my coffee and didn't reply. Because here's the thing. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need their congratulations. And I definitely didn't need their guilt. What I had was mine, earned quietly without anyone cheering. And for once, I wasn't looking to explain that to anyone, especially not to the brother who never asked how I was doing unless it involved him. When I say I've never been more prepared for a fake solution wrapped in guilt, I mean it. I'd been dodging compromised plans since I was 8, and Ethan got the bigger slice of cake because he's older. Spoiler, he was older for 32 years. I never got that slice. So when Mom called, not texted called, I knew she was loading the cannon with, "Just hear me out." "Hi, sweetie," she said in the tone people use when they want something big but are pretending it's small. "How's the house?" The house singular, not the duplex, already minimizing. "It's good," I said flatly. "Busy week?" She sighed, which was code for, "I've decided I'm the reasonable one now. Look, I know things got a little tense, but we've been talking, and Ethan's situation really is difficult. I know you said the units are rented, but maybe there's a way we can work something out." There it was, we, the family committee that always met without me. "Go on," I said, purely for the sport. "Well, what if Ethan and Jenna stayed with you just in your unit? You could share the space. They'd only need one of the bedrooms, and you could still collect rent from the upstairs." I blinked. "You want me to give up half my home for a family I wasn't told was coming?" She didn't miss a beat. "Well, just temporarily. And it's not like you're always there, right? You work long hours. It wouldn't be that disruptive." "You mean disruptive to me?" She paused, then added brightly, "And the kids are very well behaved. I almost choked. I'd seen those kids feed Doritos to a turtle and then scream because it didn't clap." "Mom," I said slowly, "this isn't about being difficult. This is my space. I worked for this alone." She softened her voice, switching tactics. "I just don't want this to turn into a wedge between you boys. You've always been so close." I laughed out loud. The last time Ethan and I were close was when he borrowed my truck to move a couch and returned it with a cracked taillight and zero gas. He later Venmo requested me $12 for gas he didn't put in. Still, she pressed on. "Don't you remember when he shared his birthday cake with you that year? He's your brother?" "That was in 2003, I said. He dropped it. I licked frosting off the floor. "Memories," she said brightly, as if I just complimented the family. Then came the real kicker. "He's just under a lot of pressure right now. It would mean the world if you could show him what family's about." Yes, the inevitable. "You're morally obligated to fix this" speech. I let the silence stretch long enough to make her uncomfortable. Then I said, "You're right." She perked up audibly. "You're right," I repeated. "It would mean the world for him to learn what family is about, starting with respecting people's boundaries." The silence on her end was chilly. Then she mumbled something about thinking it over and hung up. 10 minutes later, the family chat pinged. "Dad, you're being selfish, Jenna. We'd keep to ourselves. You wouldn't even know we're there." "Ethan, this is why you've always felt distant. You push people away." I stared at that one for a while. I push people away, right? Because boundaries are the same as abandonment. Now what they really meant was, you're not letting us benefit from your hard work, and that's uncomfortable. But here's the thing. No one in that group chat understood. I hadn't built my duplex to prove anything. I built it so I'd never have to depend on people who made me feel small. And I wasn't about to shrink just to fit back into their expectations. After the group chat meltdown, I didn't respond. I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't defend, let them sit with it. Because I've learned something over the years, people who benefit from your silence will always be offended by your boundaries. That weekend I hosted a little cookout on the back patio. Nothing flashy, just me, Angela from upstairs, and Dennis from downstairs. Angela brought root beer pulled pork sliders that could win awards. Dennis brought his corn salad that looked like it came from a magazine. I brought the grill and a six-pack. It was the most relaxed I'd felt in weeks. Angela laughed at one of Dennis's dry jokes about HOA fees. I was halfway through my third slider when she handed me an envelope, rent early again, and said, "Don't spend it all on power tools and coffee." "Too late," I grinned. That envelope wasn't just rent, it was a reminder I did this. I'd built something on my own, no handouts, no backup, no Ethan. Then, mid-laughter, we all heard it. that distinctive slam of a familiar SUV door across the street. I turned, sure enough, white SUV. My parents with Ethan, all three standing on the sidewalk like realtors scouting their next regret. No knocking, no warning, just standing. Angela saw them first and leaned in, whispering, "Oh, you expecting visitors?" "Not even a little," I said, grabbing another slider like it was a defense mechanism. They didn't say anything, just stared. Dennis raised an eyebrow. "You want us to clear out?" "No," I said calmly. "They can watch. Maybe they'll learn something." It was surreal standing on my porch, drink in hand, surrounded by people who respected me, while the family who doubted me watched like I was an exhibit. They just stood there, not one word, like they were waiting for me to cave and wave them over like this was all still negotiable. But I didn't move. Angela eventually waved polite Southern style. I just nodded. Not rude, not cold, just resolved. Mom looked visibly confused. Dad looked annoyed. Ethan looked like he just realized the guest list didn't have his name on it. Eventually, they got back in the SUV except Ethan. He lingered, stared at the house like it owed him something. I wondered what he saw. Did he see the hours I'd spent repairing drywall at midnight, the budgeting spreadsheets, the toolbox I'd taken everywhere since trade school, or just the fact that no one invited him? He turned finally slow, then got in and slammed the door harder than necessary. They drove off, didn't wave, didn't speak, just disappeared. Later that night, the family group chat came back to life. Ethan: "Guess we're moving into an extended stay hotel. Thanks for nothing." Mom: "We tried. You made your choice." Dad: "Hope it's worth it." I stared at that one. Hope it's worth it, as if my peace, my home, my sanity needed a price tag. I didn't reply, but I did step outside where the porch lights glowed against the shingles. I'd chosen the siding, I'd painted the door I'd installed. Then I snapped a photo, just me standing on the porch, coffee in hand. Caption: "Worth every brick." Didn't tag anyone, didn't need to, because 10 minutes later, Jenna texted me privately, "You're being cruel." And I laughed. Not bitter, not smug, just that deep, exhausted laugh of someone who finally realized he didn't need to explain himself anymore. It had been 4 days since the family group chat went dark. 4 beautiful, silent, drama-free days. No texts, no calls, no emoji guilt, no Ethan updates, just normal, peaceful life. Angela gave me banana bread. Dennis fixed the lawnmower cord because it was making him itchy just watching me struggle. I slept better than I had in weeks. And then the knock, not a buzz, not a doorbell, a knock firm, intentional. I opened the door slowly, expecting maybe a package, maybe Lou returning my drill again. Instead, Ethan standing on my porch like a kid who got kicked out of summer camp. Behind him, I noticed a minivan packed cramped, a pillow stuffed against the window. Jenna in the passenger seat looking down at her phone. 2 kids in the back, one eating dry cereal from a bag like it was a life sentence. "Hey," he said, trying to sound casual. "Can we talk?" I leaned on the door frame. "We are." He glanced back at the minivan. "Look, I know things got heated. Mom's been a little extra lately. And I didn't mean to guilt you." "Sure you did," I said. "You just thought it would work." He flinched, then tried the next card, exhaustion. "We're tired, man. The hotel has roaches. The kids are cranky. I'm doing the best I can." And he looked at me blinking, and I was supposed to break. And I was hoping maybe we could figure something out. Even just a week, we'd be out of your hair, right? "Just 1 week," I said. "Then another. Then maybe the dog gets comfortable." Then suddenly, Jenna is redecorating my bathroom. He chuckled nervously. "Come on, man, that's not fair." "Exactly," I said. "It's not." Silence stretched between us. He looked like he wanted to say more, like he expected me to break to cave. Instead, I just looked at him. Really looked. The same brother who used to take credit for my work, the same guy who borrowed my tools, my truck, my time. Without thanks, just expectation, the one who never once showed up when I needed help moving or fixing or building. But here he was finally seeing that maybe I wasn't the one who needed to grow up. I sighed and stepped out onto the porch, shutting the door behind me. "I'm not angry, Ethan," I said. "I'm tired." Of what? Of always being the fallback, the free option, the one who gets told to understand when no one tries to understand me. He looked at me like he didn't know who I was anymore, like he missed a meeting where I got replaced by someone with a spine. "You've changed," he said. "No," I replied. "I just finally stopped asking for permission to have a life." Behind him, I saw Jenna glance over. She looked irritated. Not desperate, just annoyed that their plan hadn't worked. Ethan opened his mouth again, but I cut him off. "There's a park 2 blocks down," I said, nodding past him. "They've got clean bathrooms and shade. Might be good for the kids while you figure out your next step." He hesitated like he couldn't believe I was serious. But for once I was the one setting the terms, and I wasn't about to unlearn the freedom I'd earned. He turned slowly and walked back toward the van. I didn't watch them drive off. I went inside, locked the door, poured a glass of iced tea, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel guilty about being the one who said no. 2 weeks passed. No knock, no text. No new messages in the family group chat. Silence. And let me tell you, it was the most peaceful silence I had ever lived in. Angela and Dennis thrived. I upgraded the porch light. My bank account got fatter. I even bought myself a ridiculously overpriced pair of noise-canceling earbuds because I could. Then, on a Thursday, a letter arrived, not a text, a letter from Mom. The handwriting alone made my stomach tighten. She always curled the Y in my name too tight, like she was strangling the word you. I opened it slowly, almost laughing at how old school it was. "We're disappointed in how things turned out. Family means sacrifice. You had a chance to help your brother, and instead you chose pride. I hope one day you'll realize what you've lost." I folded the note and placed it in the drawer next to expired coupons and a button that fell off a shirt 3 years ago. Then I had an idea. The next day I drove to a nearby print shop, paid $7, printed something clean and crisp, and framed it. Then I mailed it to Mom and Dad's house, no note, no explanation, just a photo of my duplex with the words, "Built without you." 2 days later, Jenna blocked me. Ethan removed me from the family Spotify plan. Mom sent one final message in the group chat, "You've made your choice. I hope you're proud of yourself." I didn't reply, but I did pin that message just so every time they opened the chat, they'd see who said it. Because yes, I was proud. I was proud of every skipped vacation, every overtime shift, every ignored insult at holiday dinners, every sarcastic comment I didn't clap back at. They called it selfish. I called it survival. And 1 year later, exactly to the day, I celebrated by repainting the front steps with Angela and Dennis. We grilled burgers, blasted music, and took a group photo on the lawn. I framed it, hung it in my hallway next to the first rent check I ever earned.